So thanks, Marius and Jeanine, for joining us up here on stage. Jeanine, first to you. After watching that video, what brings it up for you personally, especially looking back at how far Pletly has come?
Well, first off, I get really emotional. Looking how far we come from the early days when we sat down at the kitchen table and just talked about this, starting something like Pletly, and now we're here on stage. And I feel like caregivers deserve to be taken seriously and be supported. And I'm so proud that we can be a part of that now. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeanine. So, Marius, to you. Could you give us like a brief overview? What kind of problems are you solving with Pletly?
Yeah, so it stems back to the problems that we have experienced ourselves as caregivers. The lack of coordination and communication in the care circle. It could be the close care circle, like the extended family, etc., but also the extended care circle, special education teachers, direct support workers. And it has a lot of consequences when that information flow is not efficient. And when I met Jeanine, it was a hard time, to put it that way, and it's a reason that she's getting emotional now, and it's a reason I'm struggling not to become emotional, because there's been a lot of consequences affecting Jeanine and myself, but at the end of the day, our daughter, or my then stepdaughter. So what we're trying to do with Pletly is provide transparency in care, enable person-centric care. I know that's a buzzword for many people. I know there have been some attempts of doing it with analog solutions, binders, etc., with the best intentions, but it's really effective, taking into consideration that the individual is a dynamic individual, is changing every day, has change of preferences and change of need, and it needs a more efficient way. And lastly, it's about connecting everybody in the care circle in an efficient way. And I mean, from my perspective, we have a very unique approach to it.
Thank you, thank you. Going back to you, Jeanine. How's being a caregiver since your daughter was born? How has that influenced like the features and design of Pletly?
Well, being a caregiver has shaped everything about Pletly. We know firsthand what family needs because we lived it. The goal was to keep it simple and easy to use, so parents can spend less time worrying and more time with their child. We prioritize simplicity and functionality because we know how overwhelming it can be with too much clutter on the app and too much...
yeah, when the UI is too complex.
Complex and takes too much time for everyone.
Yeah, so a lot of the... when I came into this space as a tech nerd that I am, I'm coming from a healthcare family. I knew all the problems, but I didn't know how severe they were. And ignorant myself, just thinking, okay, there should be an app for that. Of course, it's an app for that. And we're downloading these apps and trying to use them, and it's overcomplicated. I've been in tech nerd since Commodore 64 days, and I'm aging myself now, but... And even myself, I had my Apple Watch just going off because of the pulse was extremely high of frustration. And it's like, that's what...
And it's really expensive too.
And it's really expensive too. Yeah, so it's those kind of experiences that we had from two different approaches. Yeah. Jeanine as a mother, and me coming as the tech nerd, becoming a stepfather, seeing it from the outside.
So what would you say is the core mission of Pletly? And how does that guide your decisions as a company?
Yeah, so we're a social impact company. We want to make an impact. Of course, you need the revenue to serve. Yeah. Made an impact. So of course, revenue is important, and we're focused on the revenue. But we are a double bottom line company. We're focused on making sure we are actually making an impact, not just talking about making an impact, but also maybe inspire. I think this is a great example of trying to inspire people to think different, think out of the box. And I know a lot of people here are caregivers yourself. And I remember when we got married, I told you we were living a life outside of the box and get ready for a life continued outside of the box. And that's why we want to encourage, think outside of the box, and not just from the perspective of being caregivers, but also from the perspective of innovators and people creating technology. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Alexander Drain touched upon it quite a lot. What emotional challenges do caregivers face? Oof, sometimes just miss the words there. Sorry about that.
No worry, you have my empathy.
You have empathy, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, what are the challenges, like emotional challenges that caregivers face that Pletly actually does help with?
Well, being a caregiver can be incredibly isolating and stressful, especially if your child stays somewhere in need for extra support. You get overwhelmed and feel like you don't have any control at all. You don't get any updates about the day-to-day life that they have. You're left worrying. You're left with, you're anxious all the time. You even feel guilty for not being there. And maybe calling the staff a little bit too much. And that can be overwhelming for everyone involved. And exhausting for everyone.
Yeah, so giving that transparency of care solves a lot of these problems that Jeanine touches on. And we have been dogfooding our own product, as we say, in the IT business. So we were the first family to use Pletly with our daughter, with a special education school and professional caregivers involved. And we had so many learnings doing that. But more than that, we had such more calm approach into the situation we were in always, because we knew the people, we had a photo of them, we knew that they have been involved in activity the last week or so. We could reference Pletly. It's like it's in the information library under languages. That's all her sign language there, so you can go there and learn her own sign languages. So it solves a lot of those problems. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So Pletly, as we touched upon earlier, is a transatlantic company operating into very different markets. Yeah. Norway and the US for the time being. What's the difference? What challenges have you faced in that, and how will you approach them?
Yeah, well, building a social impact company in 2 continents and multiple time zones, it's not as easy as it looks. Multiple problems. One of being the time zone, so
I never see him at all. He works all the time.
Well, I have home office and just literally next door outside the office. But I'm at the office 16 hours a day sometimes, especially leading up to this, with the collaboration with the amazing team from the Cortland. So that is one aspect of it. So working European time, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. when you guys wake up, then from 2 p.m. to dinner time, having dinner, then continuing out in the evening. But if you care for something or a passion something, that's manageable in sprints.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
But of course, we have a socialized medicine in Norway. Completely different way to approach caregiving. It's pros and cons of having a socialized medicine. You guys have a more privatized healthcare system. Of course, in Norway, we have more rights to at this core healthcare services. But it's lack of incentive, willingness to actually innovate and try something new. It's much more willingness here in the US. I think that's also aligned with the US spirit. The US is built upon doing something different, basically, and starting over and starting from scratch and thinking different. That's the whole idea of US, and I think that is so much different than the culture.
Norway is maybe inside the box.
Definitely inside the box, and from the perspective in Europe, you guys are definitely outside of the box.
Yeah.
Definitely, but we're
It's a compliment. Mostly a compliment.
That's probably part of the mission then, to bring some of those that we gather here in this space back to Norway in a humble way, and trying to get them to see that from a more of a caregiving perspective, hopefully. Yeah. So what personal experiences that keeps you motivated to continue and working on Pletly's development?
Well, my own experience as a mom, as first off, I know how hard it is, and every time I see how Pletly helps other families, that pushes me to keep on going. I want to keep on improving, making life easier for caregivers like me. Yeah, that pushes me the most, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And when I get emails from, it's usually mothers, and I think we need to do something about that as well. I don't know if it's Jamil here. Yeah, Jamil, yeah. So a great advocate for autism fathers and doing an important role. So we need to do something about that. But I get a lot of emails from mothers who's like, this, how can I use this? And I spend time helping them get on board, and then getting personal stories of how it actually made an impact and actually now is helping them and getting the results. And you have to drink a lot of coffee to get the same boosts that those emails give you. So if it's like 10 a.m., okay, let's just push to another hour and get things done. So yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. So as the founders and the creators of also the EmpathyTech, we did this in Oslo in a smaller version some months ago. So how does this event then reflect the mission and the vision of Pletly? What's important to you to bring people together around this empathy-driven innovation?
Yeah, so our tagline is caring, connecting, changing lives, which you came up with. And that fits perfectly into Pletly as a company, but we actually are caring about connecting people and eventually will hopefully change people's lives. And this came about because myself and Frode Kjersheim, our co-founder here, which is our feet on the ground, and none of this would be able to happen without him. But we're meeting a lot of people who share the same values, the same mission here in the US. We often then experienced they were a little siloed. We thought they would know about each other in many situations, and they didn't. So we became like the connector. It's like, well, we're from Norway. You're like 2 miles apart, so you should know about each other. And then I'm flying back to Norway, and I'm experiencing a lot of the same things there. So the idea was just to create a place where we can build some synergy, share knowledge, and hopefully make an actual impact in the space and raise awareness of the importance of empathy-driven innovation with empathy at the core in everything we do. So, yeah.
So lastly, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience about Pletly, caregiving, the journey that brought us here today?
Yeah, I think, Joe, I never met somebody who were willing to embrace something in the same manner that you and the Cortland team has done with not only EmpathyTech but also Pletly. And what you see here is the product of my ADHD brain not being in control and just blurting out things. And people are just, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, does it? And here we are. But the fact is, this would never have happened if it wasn't for Joe, Allison, Max, Pam, Kevin, Joe, Paul, all of the leadership group and their staff. So I want to just...
You're really thankful.
Yeah. And I think this is the beginning of something. I get a sense that this is hitting a nerve, and people are aligned with what Pletly is trying to do here. And I think EmpathyTech is going to change a lot of people's lives in the future. And we are in the beginning of entering the US market, so we will need all introductions and help we can get on that. And we're looking for investors, so now that's being said.
That's Norwegians being shameful. That's as far as we can take it. We have a couple of things to learn here, I think. Thanks very much for sharing. Thanks very much, Marius and Jeanine.
Thank you.
Very much.